Today's fan art feature goes to... If you want to get featured, all you have to do is follow me on Instagram and tag me at MissRegal_. Like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy. There's such a dreamlike quality to the Child's Dance, Phantom of the Opera. In this video essay, I am going to be overanalyzing the iconic and famous unmasking scene from this adaptation.
Shh. The morning birds. Pheasant too, I hear.
Every Phantom character in every Phantom of the Opera adaptation constructs a place for himself to exist away from society, away from the people that may and will reject him for his physical deformity. In the Child's Dance adaptation, Eric's lair feels more like a distorted amusement park to me. It's reminiscent of a house, but then there are all these fantastical elements to it. It feels more like a place that a little kid has dreamed up, a personal playground to escape into. In many ways, it reminds me of the pure imagination scene from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, and I really wonder if this version took any inspiration from it. The surreal surroundings show us both how far away we are from the opera house, but I think the environment also represents his mental state. It's very obvious throughout part 2 that Eric is rapidly descending into a state that is not exactly rooted in reality. So what things can we pick up on that demonstrates that this constructed paradise he's taken us to is fragile and close to breaking?
Good morning. Did you sleep well? I like that room. Good cozy bed, pleasant water view.
He says nice water view, but this is the catacombs. This is the sewers. How nice can that water actually be? He's acting as if he has brought Christine to an Airbnb, that they're staying in some kind of hotel. But her room is set up next to these stairs in a kind of awkward dock situation, and even though he has all this fancy decor around, it still gives off the vibes of being a big Wendy house. I even notice when Christine is sat in the beginning of this scene that she braces her hands up against the gap of the window, as if there were glass there, even though it's all just empty, further representing that Eric's home is all very flimsy and fantastical. This is a child's idea of what a home should be. It's not a practical place for adults to live in.
I have an idea. How about a picnic?
A picnic?
Yes, down through the woods. There's a quiet little spot I know. We won't be interrupted there, and while we stroll, I can show you where I live, my domain.
What do you think of when you hear the word picnic? Picnics are very whimsical, they're fun, but there's also potentially a childish kind of quality to them. I'm sure many of us associate it with childhood memories, and I do think that this is Eric's idea of playing dress up, playing pretend with Christine. He's very determined to make sure that she's not thinking about everything that's just happened. He's not acknowledging anything that has occurred. It just doesn't make any sense. It's all very, very surreal, very odd, and it does feel a bit gaslighty, to be honest. It's very, oh, look over here, look at this distraction here. As long as we play pretend, we don't have to acknowledge the bad stuff. Oh, no. But this is all reality. If you play pretend, it doesn't make things come true. You can play pretend and hide your eyes as much as you want, but if anything, the lies, the pretending, it makes the delicate paradise even more fragile.
They stretch on almost forever. Come, there's a path over here. One can get quite hopelessly lost in these woods if one does not know the path. I'll have a guide who does.
One thing I do hear people joke about is saying like, what, there's no way that Eric could have invented lights that are just as bright as the natural sky. And yeah, true, it's not possible, and I think that's the point. I think we're not supposed to think that this is all possible. It all saddles the line between what is real and what is actually fake. Surrealism as an art genre is one of the best ways to capture the unconscious mind, and we are looking into Eric's mind here. As I mentioned earlier, the world that he lives in represents his mental state. So as he is delusional, his surroundings are also rather delusional too.
Shh. The morning birds. Pheasant too, I hear. And deer. Squirrels, foxes, rabbits, all playing most harmoniously. Like this magic music.
There's nothing alive around them, and there's all these stuffed taxidermy animals, which is, just lovely. How many paradises do you know that have stuffed animals? So we have to ask ourselves, is he once again doing his let's pretend game, or is he genuinely in the delusion? Is he like, yeah, I can totally hear all the animals? And also, it's really not lost on me that the community ironically labels him as cottagecore Eric, but I can't think of anything less cottagecore than taxidermy. On the surface it seems like a pretty place, but when you sit down and think about those stuffed animals, it's actually really morbid and horrifying. Did he buy them that way? Did his father? It really turns this paradise from whimsical into quite a grim place. From Eric's point of view, he can't access nature, so he's taken drastic measures to bring nature to him. But it is just a cheap imitation. Everything around him is constructed, it's man-made, it's fake. His paradise is fake.
Would you sing for me?
If you wish.
Oh, I do. Very much. I'm sorry. Is there something wrong?
Have you ever seen two children playing a game of make-believe, but one child isn't fully into the game as much as the other? And then the whole imaginary world falls apart and the first kid has a tantrum. I believe that's a good analogy for what we're seeing here. In order for the dreamery, as Eric calls it, to work, Christine needs to be as involved in playing the game as much as he is. There has to be full suspension of disbelief, a consumption of the delusion. But Christine can't do it.
Like this magic music. You are magic too, I think.
No, I don't think that.
Oh, yes, you are. I know.
Throughout this scene, if you watch her facial expressions, you can tell that she's pretty uneasy with what's going on. She's definitely uncomfortable. And honestly, can you blame her? Her former music teacher just crashed out, brought down the chandelier on God knows how many people, and then he kidnapped her, and now they're having a picnic together in his basement garden land, all in the space of 48 hours? That's a lot. That is a lot. As much as she said to Eric's father,
I'm not afraid. Now I know his heart. I will go when I'm ready to, after I've talked with him.
I feel like as soon as Wacky Waistcoat Man started talking, she instantly started wondering if she'd made the right choice. Oh yeah, and Eric's father did just tell her that she reminds Eric of his deceased mother, so that's probably not gonna help her feel super chill, is it? If she had been able to fall into the dream and delusion, the paradise would be stronger, but she has knowledge of the outside world. She has knowledge that this isn't normal, and her search for more truth is what breaks the paradise apart.
Do you like this music?
Yes, very much.
Do you know why? Because it helps give shape to our dreams. In fact, I call this domain my dreamery. Do you find that apt?
Yes.
Apt to what?
Well, apt to what you wish.
Exactly so. The world up there is not fit for one such as her. Up there is where hell is, and I will not send an angel to hell.
I've already referenced the idea of paradise to you, but let's expand on that. In the story of Genesis, Eve is tempted by Satan to eat the fruit of knowledge, and after giving it to Adam, she and him are cast out of Eden forever, and know sickness, pain, and death. So, what is the fruit of knowledge allegory in this story? Eric's mask. Christine is tempted by knowledge, tempted by finding out the truth of Eric's appearance.
Tell me what it is you wish.
Let me see your face.
You have asked, I'm afraid, the only thing in my power that I cannot grant. Please don't ask it again.
I have seen your eyes, and I know your heart. Why not let me know your face as well?
Because I have no face. I have only the semblance of a face, and no one should ever have to look at it.
Oh, but I could look at it.
No, stop.
No, I could.
No, I ask you please to stop.
Eric, however, considers this a kind of blasphemy, a sin, a taboo. She is innocent and must not know the truth, because if she knows the truth, if she sees his face, she will never accept him. Everything will be over. The Charles Dance unmasking scene stands out a lot among Phantom of the Opera adaptations because it is the only one where Christine convinces Eric to remove the mask, rather than him being forced into showing it himself. It's a psychological revealing. Christine uses her hunger for knowledge to tempt Eric with his own desire, his desire for unconditional love and acceptance. This is his version of the apple. But both of their desires ultimately come to disaster. Part 2 of the mini-series works very hard to show you that the relationship between Eric and Christine is doomed, not just because of Eric's appearance, the circumstances, the pretense, the make-believe, but also because of the Oedipus complex.
Your mother saw your face and smiled. If love could let her gaze at you and smile, could it not do the same for me?
Part 1 makes you root for Christine and Eric's relationship, and then Part 2 quickly subverts it all after Eric's father reveals the Oedipus complex. Eric's feelings for Christine are built upon a Freudian attachment to his deceased mother, who looked and sang just like Christine, and the message from Part 2 of this mini-series is clear. This twisted foundation means that Eric cannot have his happy ending. His relationship with Christine is doomed. It's unholy, it's twisted, it's wrong, it's ungodly, and therefore, it must be cast out. He must be cast out. It's not the fairy tale he longs for, it's a Greek tragedy. Your knee-jerk reaction as an audience member is disgust. And even whilst making this video essay, I couldn't make a chapter solely about the Oedipus complex, because deep diving into that is so uncomfortable and it gets messy so fast. I personally do question this particular plot point, as I do with any Phantom adaptation that gives Eric an Oedipus complex. I mean, the guy already has major mommy issues in the original text. I don't find it necessary in any shape or form to expand on that and give him an Oedipus complex. I can understand that it's here in this adaptation to shock and horrify you, and to tell the audience that the Christine and Rao character belong together, but it's such a jarring shift from Part 1, where you root for Eric and Christine's romance way more than her relationship with the sexy boy.
I have lost baby girl.
I think the best way to kind of look at it from a more analytical lens is to re-examine it as Part 1 is the fairy tale and Part 2 is the return to the story's original roots as a gothic horror story. Fantasy to fear, lie to truth. innocence lost.
You don't know what you're asking.
Yes, I do. If you love me, please let me love you too.
Whilst we can acknowledge that Christine is seeking what is forbidden, we know from her speech to Eric's father earlier that she is speaking sincerely here. She does genuinely believe, after hearing the story, that she can love Eric despite his appearance. She's asking permission to do so, to try and love him. Her purity and innocence is a gift, but it also is a hindrance. Due to her lack of worldly knowledge and deeper insight, she doesn't know that she can't actually handle it. Eric warns her, he says, you can't. You don't know what you're asking. But she is blinded by her faith, by her belief in innocence that she can.
No, don't do that. I know your face can be looked at by someone who loves you. Please let me show you it's true.
Oh, Christine.
And in a way, that's what makes this all even more cruel. What makes it even more of a cruel unmasking than a different Christine ripping off the mask in a way. Eric's father begs her not to give him false hope, and she does. And when she can't handle it, it's a worse kind of rejection.
This time with you is the nearest I have ever been to bliss. I'm satisfied with that.
Oh, but there's more.
I'm sure, but not for me.
Back to theological terms and ideas, Eric does label her as an angel. And if you want to analyse things based on costumes, Christine is wearing all white. White, as we know, represents purity, innocence, heaven. It all works towards supporting that idea that Christine is an angel in Eric's eyes, whereas he labels himself as a monster, a demon. Due to his physical appearance, he is not human. He is not like her. And therefore he doesn't deserve anything else in his opinion. He doesn't deserve more. But the thing is, Christine is not an angel. She's a flawed human being who makes mistakes, just like Eve. She's being held up beside a romanticized myth of a completely different woman. A woman who was so perfect because she had a mother's unconditional love for her son. And then, after giving birth to him, she unalives and becomes a martyr. There is absolutely no way Christine would have ever lived up to that. She was always going to disappoint Eric eventually, even if she hadn't unmasked him. It's Eve versus the Virgin Mary. So it's not just Christine's innocence that's lost in this moment, but Eric's as well. Not only is he losing his mother all over again, but he's being shown that his heaven down here is actually hell. He's just a man who has been outcast by society, deluding himself with imaginary games, and the girl he loves can't actually love him back. The rose-coloured glasses come off for him too. We really can't help but feel for this poor man in these precious few seconds just before the unmasking. Christine has given him hope. Hope for that unconditional love in his life once more. Hope for acceptance. Hope that he can be just an ordinary man. She convinces him to remove his mask with his own ideas of fairy tales, magic and make-believe. And I think it's also extremely powerful and effective for us as an audience, that we never actually see his face. We're left to fill in the gaps with our own imagination. Overcome with shock at his appearance, she faints. And thus, the fantasy is shattered. Paradise and innocence is lost. The illusion that Eric has created is no longer a safe place for him. He's been rejected within Eden and can never return. And so, he destroys it.